Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it again with another mini hands-on guide for an on-banner rerun unit. This time it's going to be for version 3.0, and of course, this time it's going to be for the partner in crime for Cartithia, Ciaccona, the wandering bard of Rinascita. And what we're going to be doing today is breaking down on her rerun after everything that we've seen thus far and how we've seen the game progress since her release in version 2.3. We're going to be giving a rundown of her kit, her abilities, her best teams, her echoes, her gear, all of that good stuff, and let you all know the best ways to get this character up and running and performing in a wide variety of teams. So without further ado, the best place for us to actually get this started and run through this overview is in her trial, because Ciaccona is genuinely one of the easiest characters to understand in the game, but she does have some hoops to jump through when it comes to actually executing with her. So let's just go ahead, let's get this started, and let me demonstrate to you some of her mechanics, and of course break down how they're going to be working. We're going to be starting with a bit of like the on-field rotation guide, then we'll get into some of the specific buffs of her kit later on. So you got a little screen over here. It's just showing you some of her combos and the fact that she builds up her Forte circuit. Let's just go ahead and start demonstrating some of her moveset. So the first thing that Ciaccona has is a basic attack over here, right? This is just going to be a 4-hit attack chain. And then when she jumps down, you'll get a Forte charge, right? Some people might think, oh man, does that mean that I just have to spam my basic attack and then I'll be able to use my Forte where I do a heavy attack input, deal continuous damage, and then group the enemies? Is that the only way that I can do that? The answer is no. Ciaccona has a bunch of ways to build up that Forte circuit. One is, surprisingly enough, not her resonance skill. Her resonance skill only applies arrow erosion to the enemies, and you're really only supposed to use it as an animation canceling tool, and for a little bit of ER and concerto. It is not really that great of an ability for building your Forte circuit. But what if you were able to do things like build it faster by doing a jump attack? And that's what that can look like over there. So it can actually turn out that you can just build it, right, by doing these. Cancel an animation with your skill and then proceed to speed up your combo that way. But what if you have an intro skill, right? What if you have an intro skill ready? What do you want to do? Probably something like, oh dear, maybe this trial should be a little bit longer. Let's demonstrate what it looks like when you have an intro skill. Go on to Rover over here, have some fun, then go on to Ciaccona. Isn't that kind of fast? Isn't that one of the fastest rotations you've ever seen in the game? That's what I meant by Ciaccona has an easy kit to understand, but you have to jump through some hoops to execute on her. Because if you don't do these cancels, ladies and gentlemen, she's really slow. She is really slow, and I'll show you how slow she is. That's what happens when we don't perform a single cancel. So, what moves can you cancel in Ciaccona's kit? So, let's look at this. A full basic attack chain. When I see the Forte, I then proceed to do a jump attack. The second I see a Forte attack, right, pop up. And that'll get me my second one. Was that simple? Probably not. So, let's go ahead, let's reset and try it again. Notice how I got 2. That is how you do her fast intro combo. Because what does Ciaccona gain when she intro skills in? Take a look at this. She enters the field with one. And one of the big things about Ciaccona's intro skill is that it advances her basic attack chain. So getting that third one happens really fast. When you put all the pieces together, you get 1 charge from introing in, you get a second from finishing your basic attack combo, then you get your third from doing a jump attack when the second Forte lands on your bar. And when you put it all together like this, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end result. and now I just unleashed her entire kit. My Forte circuit is filled. And my Concerto is filled after performing all those moves. That literally is a 0 to 100 Concerto rotation, and it's one of the fastest in the game. And if you do not use this rotation, your teams with Ciaccona will suffer a lot. But it's not that hard to do. So once again, just for memory's sake, we'll do it one more time. And unfortunately, I can't really do it slow, otherwise the moves will, like, get canceled. So maybe slow down the footage. That's it. When I get that second mark, I do a jump attack, right? And when that one shows up, then I skill to cancel that animation. It's a skill right after plunging down and getting that Forte mark. And then we go right into the heavy attack. We'll do it one last time, and this is the final cancel in the kit. Right? I'm at 2 right now. And you can see I used my Forte heavy attack, but I got kind of stuffed over there. Now we'll show the last rotation that you'll ever use on her. And this one is actually going to be very common because Ciaccona is a good character to start your team's rotation on. This will be it. Get ready for this. And I actually want to show you how fast she gains Concerto, right? So let me just go ahead and do that opener rotation here. 1. Oh, whoopsies. I'm out of stamina. Give me 1 second. That's what happens when you run out of stamina with her. Don't run around too much. It's a bit slower, but as you saw over there, I just did 3 jump attacks in a row, did that final skill cancel after the 3rd one, and then fired off the heavy attack. And that's going to be the opener rotation that you'll use in your teams. And that's basically it. Then you just end your rotation with your Echo skill and your ultimate after using your heavy attack. And that's kind of just it when it comes to using Ciaccona on the field. You got to get used to performing her optimal cancels, but once you do, she has one of the fastest rotations in the game and can provide all of her massive buffs to the team. So we talked a bit about her gameplay. We saw how she works. Now let's actually start breaking down Ciaccona's actual kit. So, this is how Ciaccona is going to work. Her basic attack is that 4-hit attack chain that we were just talking about, right? Nothing too crazy over here. She also has this ability, right? And we were demonstrating it during the rotation overview. If you interrupt Ciaccona's basic attack animations, a Sylph will complete it for you. That's why I'm saying when you see the Forte charge, input the next ability. That's because the Sylph is going ahead and finishing off the attack chain for you. And so when Ciaccona or a Sylph does this, right, continues the animation for us, you provide a 24% arrow damage bonus to the team. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. That is just built into her basic attack. Ciaccona, for existing and performing a rotation, gives 24% arrow damage to her team. That's very good. Naturally, if you have arrow characters. And so, the idea is that these Sylphs just kind of perform in the background and grant this damage bonus. It's great. It's pretty much permanent uptime, and it's really good in arrow teams. Nothing too surprising over here. She also is going to have that stamina jump attack and all of that, and that's another way for her to gain her Forte circuit. And so this is us basically just, you know, focusing mainly on this buff over here, but when that rotation footage that you saw at the start of the guide exists, simply just use that to find out the best way to chain these abilities together. Next up, we're going to have a resonance skill. And like I said before, this is mainly used for one purpose, canceling your abilities, but it'll also apply 1 stack of arrow erosion. It'll also advance forward your basic attack. But when doing a skill into basic attack 2, 3, and 4 to get a charge is slower than just doing a jump attack. This is why you never actually use the advancement over here. There's no real reason to. It's never actually necessary. So do keep that in mind. I really only use this to cancel the plunging animations. Now we're going to have her Forte circuit. And this one's, you probably already know how it works. Ciaccona builds up 3 notes. from doing a bunch of attacks. We've already demonstrated which attacks are going to give you the nodes. And then when you have 3, you can use heavy attack quadruple downbeat, and it groups and does damage. It's really just that simple. Yeah, like I said before, Ciaccona has one of the most easy to understand kits in the game, one of the shortest kits in the game, but she does have a little bit of nuance when it comes to how she works. So yeah, as you can see, this is where the musical essence actually comes from. Basic attack stage 4 or her intro skill. And guess what happens when you do a heavy attack? Oh, when you do a heavy attack in the air, guys, right? Mid-air attack, you immediately cast stage 4. And that's why doing the jump attacks is faster. So yeah, that's just her forte so far. Hopefully nothing is too surprising, right? Hopefully nothing's too crazy. I think the lack of chat doesn't mean that you guys are bored. It just means that, yeah, this character is not too crazy. Now let's take a look at her liberation. And this is another very easy to understand ability. Ciaccona basically deals a fuck ton of damage in a massive area and then will repeatedly do a small tick of damage to apply Arrow Erosion or Spectral Frazzle up to 20 times. And basically, when in Recital, she'll have 2 QTEs that pop up, one for Frazzle or one for Erosion, and clicking either of them at the right time gives her Concerto, and then if she ever swaps off after selecting one, it'll persist of that debuff for the rest of the duration. So if she chooses Spectral Frazzle on the first QTE, she'll do 20 ticks of Frazzle, which you'll never actually use because she's like not that good at Frazzle teams. And if you don't press anything, you'll do Arrow. And if you also press Arrow, you'll do Arrow Erosion. 99% of the time, she's in Arrow Erosion mode. So essentially, you use this at the end of your rotation and then swap to somebody else with an outro skill. That's the purpose of this 99% of the time. And yeah, that's basically just it. There's not really any other complications to this unit. This character basically is learn a couple of cancels and you're good to go. She's very easy to pick up, very easy to understand, and there's not a lot of crazy hoops to jump through when it comes to maximizing her potential. Now, her outro skill. Her outro skill basically is another buff to Arrow Erosion. It amplifies Arrow Erosion damage dealt to the target by 100%. And this is one of the reasons for why she's so good with Cartithia, because Cartithia detonates Arrow Erosion. Cartithia detonates it, and Ciaccona applies a lot of it. And so, when Arrow Erosion has a cap of 3, and you're just repeatedly resetting its cap to 3, you're not dealing that much damage. But what if a character like Cartithia was making the stacks drop down to 2 every attack, and then Ciaccona comes in to refresh them? That's where the magic comes from. Then you add Arrow Rover or Chisa to increase the stack limit from 3 to 6, and stuff starts looking a lot better. But yeah, that's just how this thing works overall. She's also going to have her intro skill over here. This is just going to apply Arrow Erosion as well. So you can see there's a lot of that stuff going on. When it comes to her inherents, her liberation is going to give her a shield. She also gains 50% damage resistance as well, so you can, like, tank and attack with it. This is more so just, like, flavor. It's never actually that useful. And then her damage on her heavy attack is increased by 30%, which is... It could have just been built into the ability that she could have had a different actual inherent. Whatever it is, doesn't really matter. Nothing changes too much from reading those. Skill trait, nothing too crazy to talk about over here. She has crit damage instead of crit rate, so her crit rate can be a bit hard to build if you don't have her signature. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the skill priority now. And when it comes to this unit, you max out a couple spells. Her forte is going to be first, and then it's going to be her liberation. I'm going to be honest, it probably actually is Liberation first, then Forte, but you'll want both of these basically maxed out to 10. Next one is going to be Normal Attack that you can easily keep at like 6, 7, or 8, but as you saw during the rotation, Ciaccona uses her Normal Attack a lot in every rotation that she does. That's why I actually max it out to 10, because she does so many of them. Her Resonance skill, on the other hand, yeah, this does not scale. So honestly, leveling this up to 7 was too much. Maybe just keep it at, like, unless you want to get 8% per every weekly boss mat, right? Unless you think a weekly boss mat is worth 8% motion value per level, I don't think it is. So that skill can be kept pretty low, and the same thing with the intro skill too. Actually, the intro skill scales better than her resonance skill. That's something to keep in mind. All right, that's going to be the skill priority. Nothing too crazy for Ciaccona. Now, let's talk about her echoes. There's only one echo choice for Ciaccona, and it's not hard at all. It actually makes her one of the most brainless characters in the game to build. You run Gusts of Welkin on her, ladies and gentlemen, and that's pretty much it. And the reason why you run Gusts of Welkin... Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to show this piece off. It's just... Stay jealous. Anyways, the reason why you run Gusts of Welkin is because inflicting arrow erosion increases arrow damage of everybody on the team by 15%, and for the resonator triggering it by an additional 15. So what it basically gives is 40% arrow damage to the wielder, and then 15 to the entire team. This set is literally just a better version of Sierra Gale, because it gives you Sierra Gale's bonus permanently, and then also buffs your team at the same time. Really neat. As you can see, that's pretty good. When it comes to the 4-cost echo that you have on the set, it's going to be pretty obvious, guys. You can either run Fleur-de-Lis's weapon, or if you're feeling like experimenting, you can run the Nightmare Kelpie. It literally, in my opinion, doesn't matter. I don't think it matters at all. I've never seen it matter. The active echo has a little bit of a CC ability over here, but it can actually slow down your clears, right? By slowing down the timer when the second you cast it. This one, on the other hand, is automatic and actually gives a higher arrow damage bonus. Yeah, guys, this gives 12% arrow damage. This only gives 10 because Ciaccona is not Cartithia or Rover. So the other one actually gives a higher damage bonus. So that's just something to think about. I'm just gonna be real here, though. It doesn't matter. You can use either one. They're kind of functionally the fucking same. Anyways, substats. You're going to want crit damage, crit rate, attack, ER, and liberation damage on this unit. Liberation is your main source of damage. You can also go for heavy and basic too, but the best is just always going to be attack. For the 3 costs, you're going to want arrow on both, and make sure, this is going to be the important one, have 130% ER. That's actually why I'm making the decision to use this piece, which kind of looks like shit, instead of using this one. Yeah, I got this one, and I also have this. But I'm deciding to use this on the basis that it has ER. Oh, son of the bitch, I got this one too. Anyways, that's because 130% ER on this unit, ladies and gentlemen, is very, very, very important. And if you don't have 130% plus ER, you will not be liberating every rotation. And if you're not liberating every rotation, you will have massive problems in the teams that you're playing. So that's why I just consistently say 130 for this unit. Sacrifice your damage to get 130 on this unit. It's worth it. So yeah, only one real echo choice, but it's a great echo. So it's really easy to farm too. Now let's talk about our weapons. The good news is Ciaccona has so many great weapon options, it's insane. So let's just go ahead and go on over to the gallery, just because there's been some new standard weapons added and I don't have them yet. All right, so taking a look at our pistols over here, ladies and gentlemen, Ciaccona's got a lot of great options. Naturally, her signature is going to be the best overall one, right? It gives a big old boost to crit rate, actually 36% at max level. And then when we look at the weapon stat, let's bring it down. Inflicting arrow erosion on the target gives 24% arrow damage bonus, which is great for her, right? However, guys, it's not really that high. 24% is not that good. But it also buffs the team's damage by reducing arrow resistance on the enemies, which is one of the biggest damage buffs you can have in the game. So if you're planning on using Ciaccona in arrow teams, this thing is really good. But if she's not on an arrow team, it's not that good. But this is the arrow buffer, so I hope you're using her on arrow teams. So that's something to think about over there. Arrow resistance going down is also one of the most exclusive buffs in the game, and it's very hard to find it elsewhere. That makes it very valuable for team damage contributions, specifically if you're using her with teams like a Cartithia. Moving on, her next best option is then going to be Phasic Homogenizer. Because the stats on this, ladies and gentlemen, 587 attack, 48.6 crit damage are very fucking good. And it also has a 12% attack buff passively. And then when somebody uses a Tune Break skill, which everybody in the game can, and you Tune Break once a rotation, Ciaccona will gain a 20% attribute bonus. This is going to be Ciaccona's best overall weapon. It's going to outperform Static Mist pretty much every time. And the reason for that is simple. Static Mist requires you to be an attack scaler for its effect to be good. Its passive stats are amazing, very, very, very solid. But if you're running this with Cartithia, who's an HP scaler, it's better to use this, because then your attack buff's fucking useless on her. That just is what it is. However, remember what I said earlier about ER? You might just want to use Static Mist because it gives a fuck ton of ER by itself. So you can literally miss. You can see over here, if it's at R5, you don't even need ER subs. You have like 30% right off the rip. But if you're only at R1 or R2, that's an ER sub and a half gone from your stat requirements. And that's actually one of the big reasons for why people like using Static Mist on her, because it makes her a lot easier to build, and that means you can actually use her more. However, maybe you're of the mindset that you want to be dumb, right? You have 2 standard options over here that you can pull with standard pulls and select on the standard banner, but maybe you want to use something else. I guess you got this, right? Because you will increase your own attack because you'll have negative status damage. But why the fuck would you ever use this when you have standard pulls and you can get literally just better options over here? This is why I'm just going to say for this unit, there's no reason to even look at the 4 stars because you have 2 god tier options over here, and it's just there's no point. I'm of a don't ask, don't tell policy with Kuro games and 4-star weapons. If the standard ones are this good, I just won't ask about 4 stars because you could just select it. Like, look, I could just be like, hey, give me one. And obviously, I gotta wait for the standard pulls to get it going. A little bit unlucky this time. That's what I'm talking about over there. Just choose these if you haven't gotten them already. Everyone should have Static Mist by now because you got the UL 45 box. Sorry, wrong video. Anyways, going back and writing ourselves in the conversation, those are the weapon choices. Now, let's go ahead. Let's take a look at Ciaccona sequence notes. And you might have been noticing something very odd about the video. Why does Saint have a Ciaccona sequence note? I've been intentionally choosing not to activate this one because I got this by accident from 10 pulling. Just randomly off rip. It was like at 1 pity. Let's read what their sequence notes do. First one is just going to give her interruption resistance for 3 seconds after using her skill. And then using her basic attack is going to increase her attack by 35%. It's very boring. But I don't really think there's anything else to say about it. It just increases her damage and gives her interruption resistance, which is just what it does. That's it. During Resonance Liberation, Resonators in the team gain 40% arrow damage. So it just increases her buffing potential and makes her and her teammates deal more damage. Even her sequence nodes are really easy to understand, right? Like, I'm telling you, she might have the shortest kit in the game. Bro, this is her forte. You don't even have to scroll. It doesn't even... This looks like somebody's inherent skill. So yeah, obviously very good on the teams that do arrow damage. That's what it looks like. Casting basic attack stage 4 grants you an additional musical essence. And using her resonance skill also grants one as well. This basically gives her like an instant rotation. She then will ignore 45% of the target's defense when dealing damage with her enhanced heavy attack. And the same ignore when dealing liberation damage. Pretty decent. 45% defense ignore on an S4 is kind of a lot. Her S5 is going to give her a 40% liberation damage bonus and damage resistance to her team by 30%. You can see over here, most characters' S4s and S5s are like steaming dog shit, but hers are really good. That's because she's a sub DPS and like she doesn't do that much damage even at S6, if we're being real. And now at S6, when in solo concert, which she does for doing a basic attack, Ciaccona or her sylphs deal damage equal to 220% of Ciaccona's attack to nearby targets. So she kind of gets like off-field DOT coordinated, not really, doesn't count as coordinated attacks. It is what it is. I don't think her sequence nodes are like anything of note at all unless you're planning on getting S2. And the only thing of note for S2 is to really hyper buff your Cartithia arrow teams. So if that's what you want to do, this is the way to do it. Overall though, nothing too crazy. I don't really think she is not a character worth getting multiple sequence nodes for. But if you want to, I would say stop at S2. It's not necessary at all though to clear any content. Now, let's get into and start talking about teams. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I have a confession to make. Ciaccona is one of the most well-aged units in the history of Wuthering Waves. When she actually started out, guys, when she was released, this was her best team. This was her best team. And unless you were quick swapping like a demon in this lineup, it was not that good. But nowadays, Ciaccona, with the addition of more arrow characters, has become one of the best units in the game. And I will be demonstrating to you 4 different teams you can actually run with her, and you'll get great results with either of them. And I think for the purpose of this demo, I think the purpose for this overview, we're not even going to bother using Arrow Rover. I think we're just going to stick exclusively to, like, using Chisa. If you're interested in seeing Arrow Rover with Ciaccona and Cartithia, go check out my Cartithia guide. I don't want to deal with it. I don't care. Yeah, shed no tears for Arrow Rover. It's fine. Yep, you'll have footage of that team in the Cartithia guide. All right, so the first team that we're going to be having up is, of course, going to be Ciaccona's best team. There's no disputing it. Ciaccona's best team is going to be when she's with Cartithia. And this is going to be her highest damaging team in the game, and it's also going to be Cartithia's highest damaging team in the game. And that team comp is going to consist of Chisa, the negative status support, Ciaccona, the applier, and Cartithia, the detonator, activator, whatever you want to call her, right? And builds are going to be very simple. Just have her on Threads, Gust of Welkin, and then, of course, Cartithia, Windward Pilgrimage. And all these characters are going to have their signature, Chisa as well. And we're just going to be demonstrating this team really fast on Hazard Floor 4, where we're going to be fighting the Mech Abomination. So, yeah, let's get this one started and walk through the team. So, this lineup over here is going to be very simple. You build up Chisa's Forte Circuit. You go skill, basic attack, echo skill, into proliferation. They're just gonna spam basic until she, like, does her big scissor thing. Make sure you don't get grabbed, though. So, once again, we're gonna walk around this guy a little bit. Skill, basic attack. Bro, that grab move has to be, like, he does it at the most random times. Like, straight up, he does that grab move at the most random times. Like, he did it at the start of the rotation. I didn't even do anything yet. What the fuck? Anyways. E. Alright, well, hopefully we won't get gripped again. But yeah, you're just spamming your basic after your skill. Alright, here we go. Boom, boom. All right, perfect. We do our fast Ciaccona combo that we just talked about. Then we just go ahead, intro skill in on our Cartithia, get her fourth, or get her swords, and now we're ready to have some fun, right? E. 2 air attacks. And then do a basic attack chain into 2 heavies. And there you go. And then you just do another rotation. Try to cancel that swap cancel that Chisa Liberation if you got the concerto for it. Throw in a little Tomb Break in there for fun. And accidentally waste my Liberation before the next boss starts. But that's going to be that team. I only plan on fighting one of the bosses. I could fight both of them. It doesn't really matter. But as you saw, that team didn't even... The guy didn't even last the second rotation. We did, like, the setup for the second one, and then we were on the Mephis. You clearly saw that was strong. It was good, and there's a reason why it's one of the best teams in the game. However, the team does suffer a bit in Whimpering Wastes. It doesn't get nearly the level of scores as some of the other Ciaccona teams that we're going to be showing you now. So this was a role where we got great results. But what if Ciaccona could be used in other lineups? And that's where we're going to be calling on some footage from our Lynae guide. Because it just so turns out that Ciaccona is one of the best supports in the game for a Iuno. Because she gives that arrow damage and all of that, Iuno has her own self-amp. She feels pretty good. And when your Iuno is built like mine, where I do have the best Iuno build on the server, you'll get some good results, you know what I mean? You'll get some good results. And I'll even spice it up even further by using a special echo set that I have. A special echo set that's like just for main DPS Iuno. Are you ready? Little bit lower ER, but 2.4k attack on double arrow damage. Let me just show you the build first. That's 2 attack subs. That's 3 attack subs. That's missing an attack sub over here. But that's 4 out of 5 attack subs on the build and a bunch of flat attack rolls. That's 3 flat attack rolls, 4 attack subs that are all above like 8. So yeah, that's the Iuno that we're going to be using. We're going to be having a Lynae on Pact of Neon Light late for some fun to be the support. And of course, Ciaccona setting us up at the start of this rotation. So let's get this one underway and let's see how this one does. Because you'll notice this team feels a bit more safe to play than some other units. So this is where we're going to be doing our Ciaccona jump cancel opener, right? And you saw, that's fast for a full concerto, right? Then we just go on to Lynae.
Don't blink, you'll miss the best part.
Do her rotation.
That's all you got.
Do her jumps.
One more. I'll indulge you. On you go. Praise me.
Boom.
The moon
And then
is
just some
full.
more attacks, boys. Boom.
Is that all? Thanks for watching. Reshape. Perfect now presenting.
And that's going to be how you rotate through the team.
Don't blink. You'll
And as you see, right? Hey, this is pretty good, man. It clears at a similar pace to the, if we're just going to be honest over here, right? The Cartithia teams, right? Boom. 330k on that shot. 330k on that shot. And you want to know what the best thing is about this floor that we're on? There's no buffs at all. There's no buffs at all to this team. That is how this team performs on with no shilling, no actual interaction at all. That is how that team performs with no interaction at all because we weren't spamming echo skills in that team. And so as you saw, that one was pretty good. You just go on to main DPS, do all that good stuff. If you want the details, the specific details of that rotation, make sure you check out my Lynae guide because we go in the depths of what buttons to click perfectly for that one. Now, we got another team, ladies and gentlemen, but this is the crazy part. It's actually going to feature, we're going to put in Qiuyuan this time, but you can put in Jian instead. Basically, Iuno is also a heavy attack buffer, and what that means is if you're using an arrow heavy attacker on this team and have Iuno be the sub DPS now, well, it's another team that works because Iuno also has the healing. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that ER piece back on, right? We're going to put that ER piece back on and have her be the sub DPS now. Her damage is roughly going to be the same. She lost like 100 attack. And we're going to have Where Winds Meet as the DPS in this, as the DPS on this team. Yeah, Where Winds Meet is going to be the DPS on this team. So, once again, it's going to play very similarly to what we just saw. Let's give this a bit of a go. Is this a Ciaccona or a Iuno guide now? Well, we'll be reusing a lot of the teams for the Iuno guide, but yeah. Just the same jump attacks, right? Incredibly easy to use opener, right? Look at that. This unit is insane, bro. Like, how fast is that? It's faster than, like, Shorekeeper, bro. And now we're going to go in on Qiuyuan and then do our main DPS rotation with him. And this is honestly, visually, one of my favorite teams in the game. And then we do our 2 Forte rotation. Get both of them out before the outro skill goes out. And now we're on to rotation number 2. And I'll show you guys a cool Tomb Break combo you can do. Oh shit, he's gonna finish this.
One strike to settle it all.
Revealed.
But yeah, that's the team. But yeah, I was gonna show you a cool Tomb Break combo, but yeah, we killed him too fast. But that'll be safe for a later guide. But yeah, that's another team that you can run. And what I will say about that team is, yes, Qiuyuan is getting some big damage bonuses because he has a shit ton of echo skills. That's why that team looks that's why that team looked better than the Iuno team that we just played. It's solely just because we're interacting with the echo skills. But believe me when I say this, I've cleared with this team in non-shield TOAs as well. And it clears with like 30 seconds on the clock. Like, I'm clearing at like 305, 310, 315 with this team. And so this one, if you have Qiuyuan and his SIG and stuff like that, it's also a really strong team to play. It's very fun, too. He's a fun character to play main DPS. What you're probably noticing, right, is that Ciaccona has a lot of teams. But this is where we need to be a little bit honest about Ciaccona as a character. Ciaccona is, in my opinion, like caviar. She's like caviar. She's not that great by herself, but she's a luxury when you're able to combine her, right, with like toast and like bread and shit, right? Without having other premium options to work with her, she's kind of useless. And what I mean by that is, if you don't have Iuno, if you don't have Cartithia, if you don't have any of those units, those characters, right? All she does, she's a walking arrow buff. She's a walking arrow buff with her weapon, with her kit, with her Sonata set. And if you don't have arrow characters to work with her, what is she doing? And that's one of the biggest restrictions about her kit, her playstyle, her potential. If you don't have any arrow units on your account, she's actually useless. But if you do, she's the best unit to have on any arrow team. It's a very similar situation to, well, Lupa, who has an identical circumstance with Fusion. If you have this character but no Fusion units, what's the point of having this character? And that's really just it when it comes to Ciaccona. Because if you don't plan on pulling any other Fusion units, if you don't plan on building out Erosion, if you don't plan on having her work, right, with your Qiuyuan or your Qiuyuan or your Iuno or any of that, there's no point in getting her. And that's one of the kind of like odd things, one of the mishaps with her and Cartithia being on banner at once. This is clearly like a, I hope you save to be able to get both of them, because if you don't have enough to get both in one banner period, it's not worth pulling just one of them. It really genuinely isn't. They are a bit of a package deal. And this is an opportunity, right? If you had one, maybe you only had Ciaccona, it's time to get Cartithia. And if you only had Cartithia, it's time to get Ciaccona. But between these two, if I were to say which one's a better overall pick to your account if you had to choose only one, it would be Ciaccona. Because what did I just show you all today? The massive number of teams that she can be used on and how powerful she is. And do you want to know who's on banner in the next phase?
While the moon cycles,
I think as a player, you'll have more fun with the game pulling Iuno and Ciaccona instead of Cartithia and Ciaccona. That's my take. I think most people would agree. If you had a choice, Iuno and Ciaccona or Cartithia and Ciaccona, Iuno and Ciaccona is actually better. Might be a hot one, but that's actually going to be my recommendation for most players. Because guess what, guys? Both these units kind of suck in Whimpering Waste, so it's like, honestly, they're kind of like the same unit to me, but she just does more. So yeah, that'll be it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. I know this kind of turned into a bit of like a Iuno guide closer to the end, but the reason for that is because Iuno has elevated what this character is capable of to such a massive fucking degree. Because what this character does, she heals. And having a dedicated healer that's arrow and also does damage and benefits from it has basically allowed this character to become one of the best units in the game. And it's entirely because of her. So yeah, that'll be it for this one. Let me know what you all thought. And if you enjoyed this content, make sure you do subscribe. Peace out.